General Krixvex adjusted his ceremonial armor as he watched the prisoner transport arrive at the Nexary military detention complex. The cargo was valuable beyond measure. Lieutenant Jessica Torres, the first human ever captured alive during the ongoing border conflicts. Intelligence suggested that studying a Deathworlder's psychological breaking point could provide crucial tactical advantages. Ensure the containment protocols are followed precisely, Krixvex ordered his aide. Maximum security restraints, isolation chamber, sensory deprivation. We need to understand how these creatures function under extreme duress. The containment cell had been designed specifically for this moment. Crystalline walls that could withstand antimatter explosions, gravitational dampeners that multiplied effective weight by a factor of 10, and restraint systems forged from materials used in starship hulls. The Nexary had spared no expense in creating an inescapable prison. Lieutenant Torres was secured within the cell using restraints that could have anchored a battlecruiser to a planet's surface. The chains were embedded with neural dampeners designed to interfere with voluntary muscle control, ensuring complete helplessness. Comfortable, Deathworlder? General Krixvex asked through the communication array, his voice modulated to carry the authoritative harmonics that induce submission in most species. Jessica looked up from where she sat cross-legged on the floor, her posture somehow relaxed despite the massive restraints. The accommodations are interesting, General. Though I have to ask, are these chains supposed to be heavy? Krixvex's confidence wavered slightly. The restraints weighed approximately 400 kilograms in standard gravity, and the gravitational amplifiers were increasing that effective weight to over 2 tons. Those restraints have held the most dangerous criminals from 17 different species, he replied. No organic being has ever. Jessica stood up. The motion was so casual, so effortless, that several guards' weapons automatically charged, interpreting the movement as some form of technological assistance. But the scanners showed no artificial enhancement, just human muscle and bone operating under conditions that should have been physically impossible. You know, Jessica said conversationally, examining the chains with academic interest. These are actually pretty well designed. The molecular binding structure is impressive. But there's one thing you might not have considered. What? Krixvex demanded, though his voice had lost much of its authority. I'm not trying to break them. Jessica began walking toward the cell door, dragging several tons of restraint system behind her like a mildly inconvenient accessory. I'm just going to take them with me. The cell door, designed to withstand siege weapons, buckled under the stress as Jessica simply pulled the entire restraint assembly through it. Metal screamed as molecular bonds that had held for decades suddenly redistributed force in ways their designers had never anticipated. Alarms began sounding throughout the facility as Jessica continued her leisurely stroll down the corridor, trailing destroyed security equipment and leaving structural damage in her wake. Attention all units, she called out cheerfully, her voice carrying over the chaos. I'm Lieutenant Jessica Torres, Earth Defense Force. I'm currently experiencing unlawful detention, and I'd really prefer to resolve this diplomatically. The first squad of Nexary soldiers rounded the corner with weapons drawn, then stopped in collective shock. The human was walking toward them, while casually dragging the ruins of their most secure containment system, smiling with an expression that somehow managed to be both friendly and absolutely terrifying. Before anyone does anything hasty, Jessica continued, you should know that Earth considers the unauthorized imprisonment of military personnel to be an act of war. However, we're prepared to classify this as a diplomatic misunderstanding if we can work something out. The squad leader's weapon trembled in his appendages. You're offering negotiations while breaking out of maximum security? I'm offering negotiations instead of breaking out of maximum security, Jessica corrected gently. There's a difference. She gestured to the destroyed containment system she was dragging, It's just me going for a walk." By the time Jessica reached the facility's main command center, she had accumulated a growing procession of Nexri soldiers who were too stunned to act and too terrified to retreat. None of their training had prepared them for an enemy who could casually demolish their strongest fortifications while maintaining diplomatic courtesy. General Krixvex met her at the command center entrance. His entire military bearing collapsed into bewildered submission. "What do you want?" he asked weakly. Jessica smiled that unsettling human smile. "A ride home, an apology to my commanding officer, and maybe some of those crystalline fruits I noticed in your mess hall. They look delicious." She paused, considering. "Oh, and probably a new containment facility design consultant contract. Your current system has some serious structural vulnerabilities." General Krixvex realized he was about to become the first Nexri commander to surrender a military installation to a single enemy soldier who had never stopped being polite.